Alright, hello gamers. A little bit different than normal Alloutblitzle live stream. No tournaments, no PTCGL. But I had a pretty cool weekend at the Orlando Regional Championships, and I wanted to make a tournament report video about it, but I'm tired. I don't feel like editing. And if I wait too long, then who's gonna... Yeah, I just wanted to do it live. Then we get, yeah, it's everything here. You can ask questions. You can go over everything. And yes, I don't have to edit it. So, if you've been following the channel lately, to not much surprise, I played Wigglytuff Control. There never really was anything else, to be honest. But I suppose it would be kind of smart to just start from the beginning. I pretty much didn't test anything else this format aside from Control. That was like my number one pick going into this format after how well I did with it last format. And we just ran with it. We discovered the Wigglytuff pretty early on as a good answer to Lugia, to KO their Archeops, KO their Chinchinos. And it was good enough into the other Lost Box stuff, Chimpow, Future, Ancient Box. One thing that did make me, or did, I guess, call into question the Wigglytuff a little bit was the Noivern and Alessandro Camascoli's top 4 EUIC list. But I think Noivern's pretty bad. And a lot, like the Ancient Box list that got second place was playing Fire Energy. I saw multiple other people playing Fire Energy in Ancient Box, people playing Temple and Moon, Psychic Energies in, like, double Psychic Energy in Future. So now that the Noivern secret was out, people were ready for it this weekend. So, yeah. Since I was a known quantity, I didn't really want to go for that. So, even though, like, Future and Ancients and Lugia, like, maybe weren't going to be those popular decks, Wigglytuff still felt all around versatile enough to warrant be in the deck. So, yeah, other than that, is like pretty much the list I've been running on stream for a long time. I really wanted to fit the one of Snorlax because the Future matchup just felt way too bad without it. Like, shove Snorlax and kind of pray that I slow some down some to build your board. Like, if Future just gets going, you're not going to win the game. And I didn't face any Future, but the Snorlax was still good. But yeah, I did. The only other spicy card that I hadn't really played a ton with on stream was the Mela, which was a way to get Radiant Charizard going quicker and potentially Wigglytuff quicker, even Pidgeot a little quicker. I placed 83rd there. Spoilers alert, it's right there on screen. But we'll get into all the matchups here once we're done with the deck list. And yeah, I figured for tonight we can like just go over the list, go over the matchups that I had. Thoughts on Control after the tournament, and maybe do a quick run on just some of the decks that did well, some of the more interesting things that happened. Yeah, I guess like a question I got a lot was like, what the heck is the Klawf in here for? It's really good against Charizard, especially since a lot of them are cutting max belts. They can't keep hitting Klawf over and over again. Like, a big misconception with Control is it wins a lot of games with Retreat Lock, and it really doesn't anymore. Yo, what's up, Zid? So like your win con against Zard most commonly is a combination of Klawf and Mimikyu. You can win with Snorlax, but it's a lot harder, especially in close lists. Like, and Turo is with the Taured list all over the place now. It's just risky because like if you show up Snorlax, pull up the Lumineon and just like instant charge or whatever, they can boss around it. They could Turo it up. Like, if you push up Mawile, Tempting Trap, and they go Turo knock out Mawile, you basically lost the prize card for kind of nothing gains. Because, like, the Turo isn't really that important of a resource. Like, you'd rather force them to, like, spend a boss to go around Klawf. Do I think Venomoth will ever be good? I mean, it could be, but I kind of doubt it. And then also the Klawf is cool against Arc Piles as well, because they have to keep hitting it and losing energies. But yeah, everything else was pretty much as it has been on the channel lately. No, there's not a single time where I wish I had fighting to swing with Klawf. In fact, I think I would have, the only reason I would have liked fighting energy was to open with energy in my opening hand more often. That was probably the only reason I would have wanted it. And at that point, I'd rather just play like another actual energy if I wanted it. Mela helps us get Radzard going a turn earlier or Wigglytuff a turn earlier. And it was kind of mid, to be honest. It was really clutch though in one game, which we'll talk about later. I did decide to opt for the Cyllene Yaocheer split, which I've been kind of skeptical on for a while. But I got sold on it because Yaocheer, the combination of Cyllene and Yaocheer is just objectively very strong. Like, it gives you access to basically like pseudo infinite resources. It does feel bad when you prize one or the other, especially if you prize the Cyllene, but you are taking prizes. You can't unprize it. So you're really only like mad like, if it's like up against Zard and you prize it and you can't penny loot, but even then it's still workable. You just have to like always prize check, make sure it's in there. And if you do prize, you have to play your Pal Pads and Yaocheer pretty conservatively. Like, you can't just like burn Pal Pads to Sister's Loop. What's the worst card in the deck? Probably Mela, but it's like good. Like, if I were to cut Mela, I'm not sure I'd put in for it. I mean, Lugia is not a real deck plays again. It's fine. And you just go Mela Pidgeot, knock out the last rat, and we're gaming. Okay, so yeah, aside from the Yaocheer Cyllene split, Mela, and the one of Lax, the exact same list I have been running on stream. So there were a couple times where like Mela would have been objectively correct. I just didn't see the line until like after I'd have the Mela play lined up. I better get Iono away. So it's like, it is hard to use, but it's very powerful when you can use it correctly. Because like there is sometimes there's like sometimes where like you get that early Radzard and their board's not ready for it, and they just like lose on the spot if you just killed their only threats. And that happened one of my games. So I guess that's kind of all for the list. If y'all have any questions, just while I'm talking about matchups or anything, just drop them and I'll do my best to answer them. I use Wigglytuff a ton. Like, we're gonna talk about the matchups here, but I use it a lot. It was in most of my games, honestly. Like, if I were to just guess, I would say I used it in more games than I didn't use it. How do we want to do this? Because we could go over to RK9, but that's kind of scuff looking. Like, most of my opponents made day 2, so we could look at their lists on Limitless, but my first 4 opponents did not. So I guess we can switch over to Big Blitzle over here, and we'll just get into it. So actually going into day 1, I felt like surprisingly confident. Like, I don't know, like I had the usual like pre-tournament nerves and stuff, but like it wasn't bad, I would say. And then yeah, round 1 I got paired up against Ancient Box. Shout out to Matthew. Very nice, like probably the nicest opponent I faced, which is a very pleasant match that we had. So and they were playing Ancient Box, which I was very happy to see round 1. Like Wigglytuff and Retreat Lock make it pretty hard for them to win. But on my opening deck surge, I noticed I prized double candy. So that was fun. So I had to go more aggressive with Wigglytuff than I would have liked to try to unprize the candy, and fortunately enough, candy was the first prize that I pulled, so I was able to establish my Pidgeot, and they decided that they opened Flutter Mane, which was pretty unfortunate because that just gets Mawile trapped and eats up 3 energies. So, yeah, since they sort of like Ancient has to go through their deck for their strategy to work, their deck's very exploited, whether it be with Retreat Lock, so they don't like play switches, or just decking them out aggressively with Chi-Yu if they're just not doing enough damage so far. Unnecessary is Lax. The Lax doesn't help the Lugia matchup at all because they play so many Jets and we play no Sinnoh. It's mainly for a future. So back to the Ancient Box game. So it basically came down to he like hit my Wigglytuff for a solid amount of damage, but I had the cape on it, so it had 450 HP. They hit it for like 140 or something, maybe a little more than that. I think they had to hit it for like 270 to win the game, basically. But they were 1 ancient card short, and they left themselves with 3 cards left in deck. So all I had to do was Mawile Tempting Trap the Flutter Mane for a single turn, and then Chi-Yu and deck them out. So that was like a 35-minute game 1, and my opponent was breaking super bad game 2 and just picked up their cards like after I set up the Wigglytuff for game 2. So it was a nice, not really easy. It was a pretty sweaty round 1, but got the dub. So it was, I'm pretty happy about that. I'm pretty sure I'm playing this for indie, but we'll get onto that later. Yeah, attack with Wigglytuff, kill their ancient guys, force them to spend more resources to get things back on the board. Because they have a really hard time hitting 450, and they kind of don't want to bench a ton of things to, like, they just have their Roaring Moons as attackers, really, because Koraidon's terrible, Flutter Mane's pretty terrible to bench. So I'm gonna, like, Sisters and area away your rods. So you really only have, like, 4 Roaring Moons you can attack with, and also you might self-mill those, like, that might not be the highest priority, often Explorer or something, so, or Pokestop. So it's just a pretty tough matchup for them. So then, got the dub round 1, had like 10 minutes left, so gotta actually get a break, which was uncommon throughout the day. So the round 2 up against Daniel, and yeah, they win the coin flip, choose first. We're like, all right, we're chilling, going second, and they flip over a Dialga V. I was terrified. So they go first and like draw pass. Like, okay, we're chilling. It's Dialga, total fraud deck. They're bricking, and I have a pretty okay turn 1. Like, I get down, I bench the Wigglytuff, bench the Pidgey, instant charge. Like, I have the turn 2 Pidgeot all lined up. Then they proceed to go Arven for Poffin Evo double Metang after their draw pass turn 1. I don't remember what I hit them with the following turn, but I didn't do much. Whatever I did, I think I hit him with Wigglytuff, actually. Or maybe, yeah. And then they proceed on their turn to Star Chronos my Lumineon that I benched, and then Boss and Metal Blast my Pidgeot on their bonus turn. So it was over. We were down 2 to 6 prizes. They had another Dialga loaded up in the back. I picked up my cards. It was over. So, something unfair stamp or scoop cyclone. We get into the cape and control. Cape is so good. I'm not, never say never, but Cape is broken. Cape is unironically probably the second best, maybe best ace spec. So going into game 2 against Dialga, I was terrified. I just got absolutely rolled. My opponent's saying how consistent they made their deck. Like, they've been working on it a lot on live, and it's been working super consistently for them. So yeah, I was super terrified. Going into game 2, it's more the same thing. I choose first, and they get the turn 1 team evolution. Fun. But this time I decided to cape my Pidgeot, so it's a little harder for them to one-hit my bird. They do the same thing to me, boss up Lumineon, Star Chronos, but they make a key misplay. They bench Lumineon, and then boss up my Pidgeot and hit it for like 320. And I knew their only switch out was or I made the educated guess that their only switch out was the Prime Catcher. Can I show the tournament link? Yeah, sure. I'll throw the Limitless result page in a chat real quick. I should have done that earlier. That is a good thought. I get sidetracked super easily. My bad, chat. God, there's the link. Can I pin it, please? Please? It's not like letting me pin it. That's rude. Okay, so back to the game. They made the key misplay of benching Lumineon to boss for not a knockout. If they would have killed my bird, it might have been worth it. So they're at 2 prizes, I'm pretty sure. So I hit him with the Iono to 2, plus Counter Catcher out there Lumineon, and Tempting Trap. And if they hit Prime Catcher this turn, that they win the game. But they draw for turn, so they have 3 cards in hands. They attach a Metal Energy, I think, then restart for 1. Iono themselves, draw 2 cards, and pass. So then I go Quick Search Misfortune Sisters. We hit the Prime Catcher. So they scooped it up. So there wasn't a ton of time left for this game 3, so I'm thinking like if I can get a tie out of this Dialga, I'm cool with that. Yeah, absolutely terrifying matchup because they have like so many energies, like basically impossible to retreat lock them unless they get an unfortunate starter or misplay. So game 3, they up second, which I'm kind of fine with, because I don't feel like their deck actually that consistently turn 1 Evos. And sure enough, they missed the turn 1 Evo, and Iono me into a pretty strong hands. And after the Iono, they leave themselves with 1 card in hand, like no Mew EX in play. So I go quick search for Luxray and Fang Snipe their only card, which was an Arven, out of their hands. And at that point, they proceed to draw pass for the rest of the game while I use Wigglytuff and knock out all their guys. It was super stressful. I've somehow, some way got 3 match points against the Dialga. I don't feel like I deserved it, but we take those. So then round 3 up against Chad. I was very surprised to see my opponent flip over Araltz and do all that setup. But I actually had a pretty... I think I had a slower start this time. Like I didn't get Pidgeot until turn 3. But yeah, I benched Cleffa and Grasping Drawed for 5 with 5 Pokemon on my bench when there was a collapsed stadium in play. So, lost that game. Go to game 2. So the Gardevoir matchup's really weird, and it doesn't seem like it should be favored, but I'm pretty sure it is. Because like pre-rotation, Gardevoir could flood their board with all Ralts, and you could never trap anything, and they'd have enough energies to attack with everything, but they can't do that now, because they only have 2 Guard EXs, so they have a bunch of Curlias. That kind of sucks, because those things are taking 30 damage. So they have a bunch of Ralts in play, they're not really drawing cards, so they can't really respond to Wigglytuff. So my opponent this game tried to push the early Clef key to slow me down, but it really ended up hurting them because I just retreat locked it for like forever until they turret it up. And then they knocked out my Mawile. But they had used 3 Psychic Embraces to do it. And I had a Razard with an energy already loaded up, I think. So then I owned them to just like 2 or 3, and Combustion Blasted 1-hit that Gardevoir EX. They had no Curlias in play, so they pretty much just they hit an Arven and Evo'd 1 Ralts into a Curlia. By boss and knocked it out with or counter catcher Pidgeot Blustery winded it. The game was over. But unfortunately, we did not have enough time for game 3. We had like 2 minutes left. We both started like yeah, both of us had like 2 or 3 Pokemon in our opening hands, so it was basically an impossible game to finish. So was a little upset that collapsed stadium misplay thing potentially cost me a win. But hear me out here. Going to the tie bracket with control is not necessarily a bad thing, because a lot of your not so great matchups, Future Hands, Lugia, they tend to not tie. So if like I'm on 7 match points, I'm gonna have to face someone who tied, right? So I'm probably more likely to face a deck like Mirror Match, like Charizard, Gardevoir, even Lost Box, Ancient Box, even like decks that are more prone to ties. I'm more likely to face them, which are all happen to be pretty good matchups, and some of my bad matchups I'm less likely to face. So this was actually probably not a bad thing overall to tie super early. The next round somehow hit Gardevoir 2 consecutive rounds. So I didn't bench 5 under Collapse this time, partially because my opponent did not play Collapsed. But game 1, my opponent was like playing like bench locked themselves, played around Erica, and tried to like attach energies to everything, so I couldn't trap with anything. But I ended up just like trapping a memory skip Ralts with a Snorlax. And yeah, we won a super long game 1, and then because they like wouldn't scoop for some reason. So I'm like totally fine. Like if you have no win con and you just refuse to scoop, I don't care. Like especially like if you're gonna drag out like a 40-minute game one or 35-minute game one with a deck like Gardevoir that takes a while to reach its win condition, like it has to develop for a few turns. I don't care. Like I'm not gonna like aggressively try to win the game or go out my way to play super quick. That game one, like you're just hurting yourself. Like that happened multiple times this weekend, and I guess people were like trying to play for the tie. But yeah. So I don't think we finished game two. But I was definitely ahead if I remember correctly, because like they decided to not bench lock, and Wigglytuff went crazy, so got the dub there. And now we can finally flip over to a Limitless because the rest of these lists will be on there. Congrats, your friends who cooked Raging Bull Lost Fox got to 2. I saw that. That's pretty sick. All right, so now we can jump over to Limitless. Round 5, we were up against now I gotta find everyone. Up against an Ancient Box. I don't know. Do we call this Ancient Box? What do we think, chat? Is this Ancient Box or is this just like Moon or? Because I saw them like do all like the Baby Moon stuff, but like yeah, there wasn't the Dunsparce, there wasn't there wasn't like the Koraidons and stuff. But I did see that Barrel game 1, so it was like kind of weird. But my opening hand really sucked. My opponent won the flip, chose second, and I opened Jigglypuff, attached Bravery Time to Jigglypuff, attached Energy, and passed turn. It was terrible. So they opened Mooney X, which is kind of fortunate because they can't load it up all in one turn. So it made it so they had to find a switch or a dark patch. Second. So fortunately enough, they whiffed the donk, and I think I top decked Arven or Ultra Ball for Lumineon, and I somehow had the pieces to start swinging with Wigglytuff right away, and I just kept swinging with Wigglytuff, and they couldn't knock it out. I eventually established Pidgeot, got my board going, and took 6 prizes with Wigglytuff. Because the thing about Ancient Box, they really are relying on Radiant Greninja and to a lesser extent Barrel to draw them cards and build their hand up super big, get their energies down and stuff. And they can't bench those, or they just instantly lose to Retreat Lock. So their deck kind of doesn't work. Especially when they have to KO a Pokemon with 450 HP that can't get Frenzied Gouge because of Mist Energy. So, despite the terrible opening hand and near donk, got the dub. And then game 2, they decided they went second again, but they benched Radiant Greninja to get going. So I was able to kind of capitalize on it. I Eri'd away, I think, a switch and maybe even Prime Catcher as well. So I saw one switch and a Prime, and I was like, okay, that has to be it, right? So I start Mawiling their Greninja. And by that point, when I start doing that, their deck is like probably like 20 cards, and they like did with an Explorer, a Pokestop, like our Ninja. They really wanted to hit that other switch. But and like after my opponent played the Explorer, there's like 5 cards left in deck, and they had like a visibly frustrated expression after they played the Explorer. So I was pretty sure there was like a switch in there, something that they were trying to hit that was important. So I quick search for Sisters, play it, and sure enough, there's a switch in there. And as soon as I mill that switch, they pick up their cards, and that whole set was like 30 minutes. I was super happy to get a break, because like what was that? That was like 4 consecutive rounds that like went to time, or 3 consecutive rounds that went to time. So I was pretty pleased about that. So at this point we're 301. So yeah, that's pretty cool. Your judge call go your way. Your opponent appealed and the call went his way. Oh, that's weird. Dang. So yes, we managed to take down the Ancient Box in round 4. And I think, yeah. We went up against Snorlax Stall the next round. Which I was very happy to see. Like, they flip over Mantine, I flip over Mimikyu, so I knew it was a stall v control matchup, and if you in case you didn't know, the stall versus control is incredibly favored for control, because like they pretty much just have to just start singeing straight away. But if they're doing that, they're not drawing cards. They can't really like keep their good cards in the hands. And I can fairly easily just blustery wind and 2-hit Chi-Yu. And they eventually run out of pennies if they try to heal around it. I have vacuum that can get rid of a charm or cape or whatever on the Chi-Yu. And then like once I killed the Chi-Yu, it's so hard for them to reestablish it. Like they have to super out it back in, then get it back out, and get another switch. So then I can just pivot back into my own Chi-Yu and get ahead on the deck out race, even potentially threaten another KO on the Chi-Yu. So that's exactly what happened game 1. Like on turn 4, I blustery winded and knocked out the Chi-Yu. I did like prize my boss and I didn't pull it, so that was like kind of a. I don't think I prized sisters, but I might have. Yeah, I think I did, because I was like kind of upset that I didn't pull it off the prize. I only had Eri to work with. So like, then after I killed the Chi-Yu, I was able to get ahead on the deck out race with my own Chi-Yu, and they scooped it up. With I want to say like 15 minutes to go, because my opponent was playing really slow. Which I think is a common theme for staller and control players, unfortunately enough. Like, I have the reputation for playing slower. So, I mean, to get that 1-0 dub, right? But I like naturally play pretty fast, so I don't really care. Like, if it's especially like a matchup that like super favors me, the game was clearly going in my favor, and you're still gonna play super slow and not scoop, I don't care. Like, I'll win a 40-minute game 1. Like, I'm not gonna slow play, but if you're gonna play yourself, I'm cool with it. So there basically just wasn't enough time for game 2. But this, yeah, I just killed their Chi-Yu again, and that's kind of it. I like really couldn't set it back up in time. Yeah, like they like opened Pidgeot V and like attached Forest Steel Stone to it preemptively. So I like lost back their Forest Steel Stone, so they were just like totally stuck. I don't know why. Like they probably shouldn't have attached the Forest Steel Stone. So like then the Pidgeot was stuck, and I was like fang sniping their entire hand away. Wait, I might have actually taken all 6 prizes this game, because like I fang sniped and killed their Pidgeot, and I'm pretty sure I used blustery wind and knocked out Chi-Yu and Rotom after that, but I can't remember for sure. But either way, got the dub up against Snorlax stall, which at this point put me at 501. I'm pretty sure, right. Yes. So this is where things get kind of crazy, because you know how the Pokemon Twitch stream always loves to show people who got put on the win it in. So totally without, like, I had no idea this was happening, but the Discord went crazy and flooded Twitch chat. If just go back and watch the in-between period from round 6 and round 7, it was pretty ridiculous, because like by the end of it, like a majority of chat was like spamming, put Alloutblitzle on stream, put James Kowalski on stream. Like, it was going pretty crazy. But I understand why they disliked. I'm playing a cool deck, so that usually bodes well if you want to get on stream. But the matchup I faced would not have been that exciting. Where is it? It was right here. My opponent was playing Charizard. My first Charizard of the day in round 7. And this list is basically 0 chance. There's no Devo, there's no Eri, 2 boss in Pad and Turo. And like the Pal Pad's important because it's way easier to discard than like that Yautja. I can Eri or sister it away. My opponent was very upset with the matchup. He knew what I was playing. Game 1, I went first, because my opponent made me, and I opened Pidgey I opened Pidgey like bench Rotom instant charge. My opponent opens Charmander attach Fire Energy Heat Tackle. So then I go Candy into Pidgeot, and Blustery wins and knock out their only Charmander. So I wish that got on stream. That would have been pretty cool. But it did not. So game 2 was definitely a lot better of a game. Still not great. I didn't instantly donk them. They did go for like a pretty like aggressive. I don't know, like they went for a Sealstone for Zar, like bench Lumineon for Arven for 4 Sealstone, but they didn't take a knockout. I don't remember what they hit, but they hit something for not enough damage. And at that point, they like one lone Zard, no Pidgeot in play, and I was sitting behind Mimikyu, sistering, Eriing, and they just kept draw passing, which is kind of annoying because like I didn't want to go in with like I didn't like want to get out of the Mimikyu, but also I didn't want to like I play too aggressive and potentially put myself in a bad spot. But eventually it got to the point where their deck was like 15 or so cards or 20 or so cards. And I sold all 3 of my pennies, all 3 Pal Pads, and Team Yell's Cheer. So I can like it, and I sistered away their vacuum, which is very important. So I can use Chi-Yu for 9 turns consecutively and mill 18 cards. Because I hadn't seen an Eri at any point, so as long as I played carefully, I felt fine about doing this play. So that's exactly what I did. I jealously singed for like I think 7 turns in a row or something, and decked them out. So across the whole sets, they didn't take a single prize card, which is kind of funny. But yeah, but I was super ecstatic to get to be a 601, be locked into day 2, my first day 2 ever. And at 601 is a great chance to eventually rack up some more match points. I put myself in a pretty good standing to go deep into day 2. I mean, like at that point I was like playing at like table 8, so like it was really exciting. Like I've never been that high up at like a major tournament, so it was like it was pretty cool because like I'm sitting next to players that I've been like you see on stream all the time that you like. You're like, wow, that like they're a really good player. And like sitting like right next to you, it's like, wow, that's pretty cool. So then round 8 gets paired, and it happens to be someone playing no. Okay, yeah, I think yes. Someone playing Chimpao. Which first C-Pal today, very happy to see that. I've been like totally dodging the meta, and I felt like kind of fortunate to be at 601 considering the matchups that I faced. Like they weren't the greatest, but also they weren't the worst either. Like no Lugia or hands. So I was very happy to see a Chimpao, because they really like can't do a whole lot against me. Like if they're not going to bench a barrel, they just can't string together enough cards in their hand to consistently hit knockouts, especially if I'm like Luxraying and taking the best card out of their hands. And they do bench the barrel. I pretty much auto win with Retreat Lock, so it's fine. I don't really like. I feel pretty comfortable either way. And also, if they don't want to bench the barrel either, like I can go 450 HP Wigglytuff and start knocking out backs. And what are you gonna do about it? You don't have a barrel to help refill your hand. You're not gonna hit all those energies. So game 1, I had kind of a slow start, I think. But I was able to bring it back with like an Iono plus Radzard play, and they like missed for a couple turns because no barrel down, and Radzard cleaned up like both their C-Pals that they had important, and they scooped. They made a misplay about like preloading energies onto Chimpao, I think, like because yeah, I killed their only backs with a Radzard, and they would have like left 1 energy in play, and they could have knocked out my Radzard, and it would have been kind of awkward for me. But what was important about game 1 is I saw Iron Bundle, I saw Cyllene, and I saw a counter catcher. So this is important because going into game 2, they decided to bench Barrel this time, which worked out for them because my start was very slow. But yeah, I was able to sister away 2 candies, and then I like Fang Snipe and accumulated enough damage on a Excalibur that Blustery Wind could reach a knockout. So I only made this play because I assumed that would have been 3 total candies. Okay, you're on a Cyllene and hit 1 heads. Like, your deck's like 20 cards. You have to have Cyllene on this turn, and then you're spending Cyllene for a candy, not Prime Catcher. So I can just counter catcher up a barrel and lock it out. Because I also wrote down quite a few SERs, and I had Kate Pidgeot in the active spot that they have to deal with. But to my surprise, they had the 4th rare candy. Which yeah, was very surprising because like game one I saw all 3 Bidoofs, I saw the counter catcher, I saw the bundle and the Cyllene, so like there's no way they have space for this. Looks like they like cut a rod, cut an Nest Ball. S2C pass is fairly standard, but either way it was kind of frustrating. And it definitely lost me the game, making that kind of bad, because then they were able to like Iron Hands. Yeah, they were like able to Prime Catcher Iron Hands, take 3 prizes, and it was basically impossible for me to finish the game because I can't like Radzard their hands or I lose to Chimpao taking their last prize. So I had to like Blustery win their Barrel, plus I owned them to 1 and hope that they whiffed. But they didn't. They like Pokestopped into SER for the win, so because they had Iron Bundle on the bench, so they just had to hit Superior to win, and they got it. So yeah, then there was no time for a game 3, so I was kind of upset that we got the tie there because I feel like I probably could have played it better. Like if I would have like played for the retreat lock instead, the game may have not finished, but I probably would. The likelihood I would have lost the game would have been significantly lower. So I was kind of disappointed that things ended up working out that way because it was very favored matchup and took the tie into it, which yeah wasn't what I wanted. So yeah, at this point we're 6-0-2, like still can win the last one, get to 7-0-2, and that would still be a amazing record to go into day 2 at. So I get paired into Lost Pile, which I felt kind of okay about going into at the time when they like flip over Comfy. They opted first, which I was totally okay with. And I was able to get down Rotom, have Poffin for Jigglypuff attached to Jigglypuff, and had Candy Pidgeot all ready to go in hands. And then they Prime Catcher and KO my only Pidgey with Cramorants. At that point, the game was pretty much doomed. Like, I was really banking on Pidgeot to bail out my hands. And I made I guess you could say the misplay of Ultra playing away my Heavy Ball when I knew my second Pidgey was prized. So I had no way of reestablishing the Pidgeot, so my hand was pretty much dead, so they were able to like roll over me after that. So going into game 2, I chose first. I won Lumineon, which was terrible. And they absolutely popped off again. Like spit, like I like the turn 1 spit into my fish. I had a fairly slow start, I want to say, and yeah, they just ended up running me over with their stuff. Like I was able to like almost win the game via retreat lock. I like, lost in a couple switches. I aeried away a couple switches. They ended up having like 1 switch left, and I needed them to like whiff for a turn so I could like try to sister again and maybe win the game. But they did not whiff off the Iono to 1, so yeah, I got kind of rolled. Like it wasn't really particularly that close. But yeah, my opponent drew incredibly hot. I didn't, and I definitely made some mistakes as well. So was kind of disappointed to go into day 2 at 6-1-2. Like I know it's still a really good record, but like considering how I started, I was pretty disappointed. Like I wanted to I was hoping to maybe get the 711, 811, or 801. I mean, but it was okay. Like I made day 2. Like that was one of the big goals for this event, was to get my first day 2. So, yeah, we got it. So I was definitely very nervous going into day 2. Like I ran day 1 with a with a pack of turquoise katanas. So I resleeved at the hotel the morning of, because like they were kind of scuffed and I didn't want like any kind of risk of getting a penalty from messed up sleeves. Like that's the last thing I want when I have like a few extra packs in my bag. Like no point in being like cheap and taking chances when like, yeah, I can just resleeve. So did that, and like one thing about katanas is they're kind of small, so your cards like pop out of the top. So like while my opponent is doing other turn, I'm like first round day 1, I'm trying to like push my card down in the sleeve, because it's like close to the top. My hand is shaking so bad, like the hand is holding the card. I couldn't even push it down. Like it wasn't working. It was not gonna happen. So I abandoned that idea. But I suppose we should get back into the game. I was up against an Espathra, which I was very happy to see. I was like, this seems amazing. They opened Radiant Greninja, so I I I feel like the game was kind of won right off the rip. Because they did have a Prime Catcher KO on my Jigglypuff, but I didn't care. They burned their only what I assumed to be their only switch outs, and I just responded with Counter Catcher and trapped their Radiant Greninja. But then they started playing Cyllene and hitting a lot of heads. They did not have a single Cyllene that double tails, and they had like 3 or I don't know how many Cylenes they played. They played a bunch, but they never whiffed a Cyllene entirely. And what really sucked for me was my Misfortune Sisters was prized. So I couldn't ever like mill their Pal Pad away or something. So that really sucked. So they like this infinite loop where they could like Pal Pad back in Cyllene Tulip, conceal cards, grab the energies back, and it was really annoying. Because like my opponent was like very, very openly okay with the tie. Like I had to also do my own stuff, so I didn't deck out. So I was like quick searching for Yoshi or Pal Pad or Cyllene or Eri or just whatever card I happened to need that turn. So I'd just be like, okay, I'm gonna announce Tempting Trap. I'm gonna shuffle my deck. Just play your turn, please. Like you can cut my deck before the start of my turn. Just like it's round 10. I'm not playing for the tie right now. Like I want to win. I want 3 match points. My goal is to make top 8. My goal is to win money. I'm not here like playing for the tie round 1 in a very winnable matchup. That's not what my opponent was thinking. They would like every single time after I quick searched, they would shuffle my deck. And yeah, and they wouldn't start their turn until after they shuffled my deck, and they did it every single time. Like, so it was very annoying. So I did like, I took kind of a calculated risk to go in with Chi-Yu to try to like aggressively win the game, because their Pal Pad wasn't in the discard pile and Cyllene was floating around in the deck. They had about a 10 card deck, so if my Chi-Yu mills with Cyllene, I pretty much win the game. Because even if they go Poltergeist and knock out my Chi-Yu, I don't care. I'm just going to I'll just re-gust up the Radiant Greninja and win the game. But what was kind of weird is I initially went in with the Espathra and hit me with a sideball. So I'm like, okay, I don't care. I'll get another mill 2 in. With the Cyllene again. And then they hit me with the Iono. And I draw 6 trainer cards. And in order to get around the Espathra's ability, I countercatched a Radiant Greninja. So then they Ionoed themselves into an energy 2 retreats. And they Ionoed me into 6 trainer cards. So Banette could Poltergeist and one hits my active. Because what really sucked is my hand prior to the Iono, I had like a 9 or 10 card hands and only 2 trainers. I had like all my Pokemon, most of my energies. Like I was making sure like instantly play most of my trainers, or like if I ever had like 3 or 4 in my hand, I'd like play one or something, or not quick search for a trainer if that's what the just so I didn't lose to a Poltergeist. Because when they're just Cyllene looping, they can't Iono and Prime Catcher in the same turn, or they're holding Prime Catcher at that point, which is pretty exploitable, right? So like if they're Cyllene back in Prime, can't Iono, so they can't one hit me. But yeah, when we went in with the Chi-Yu, they didn't have to Cyllene. I whiffed the Cyllene mill. So yeah, in hindsight, I probably should have been okay with the tie. I was just kind of, I was definitely playing out of frustration because of the way my opponent was playing. Yeah, and just some of the stuff that happened during the game, some of the stuff that was, yeah, it was just, I was frustrated. And I definitely made a risk I probably normally wouldn't have taken if I wasn't kind of tilted. And got punished really bad for it. And since like I went for the Chi-Yu play with like 10 minutes left and we hadn't finished a game 1. So by the time we start game 2, there's like 7 minutes left. So it's never like they get down 5 Pokemon or whatever, they get 2 Buddy Poffins in their opening hand. So I just pick up my cards, just like, I'm not gonna waste the 7 minutes here. Like, I just want some time to regroup for the next game because I was feeling very frustrated. Not how I wanted to start my day. Like, there's a little frustration carrying over from the day before with how like I'd kind of choked the ends of the end of day 1. And then there was that whole mess of a game. So, yeah, and I was, yeah, all I'm very frustrated about the kind of, yeah, just everything that happened. So, but yeah, at this point, I faced like so many different unique decks. It's kind of wild. Like a Spathra, Lost Piles, Chinpow, Zard, Blocklax, Moon. Like the only duplicate deck I'd faced technically was Gardevoir. Like it's so strange. In 10 rounds, faced 9 unique decks. And the trend continued for round 11 because I faced Goldengo. Which normally is a pretty easy matchup. But my opening hand really sucked. And they really popped off. Oops, yeah, I wanna go here. I'm kind of surprised this many Goldengos made day 2. But they really popped off, and yeah, they like after I got my Pidgeot going, I went for like a Fang Snipe kind of aggressively, and then they had like 2 Pokemon on the bench, so I thought like, well, they're not gonna subspace Swell and knock me out, even though I didn't have a Charm on. Like I felt confident that was not gonna happen, because the following turn they'd use Cologne to knock out my Mimikyu, and I was able to like, Luxray was something good, I'm pretty sure. It might have been like a boss or a Cypher or something. But then they proceed to draw a bunch of cards, find Buddy Poffin. Like they were like set up 2, like they like their bench was like 2 gimme ghouls when I Fang Sniped. They get the full bench, knock out my active Luxray, but I was still feeling fine. Like they milled their boss off of Pokestop. They're canceling clones in the discard pile. They burn Star Portal. So I felt like, okay, they can prime for 1 prize, but for 2 prizes, but how are they taking their last one? So that's exactly what happens. They prime catcher and took a knockout. And they did Pal Pad back in the, or maybe no, I think I milled prime catcher, but they Pal Padded back in boss for a knockout. I had Mimikyu in the active spot, so I felt pretty confident that they had no way to get through my Mimikyu until they played Cyllene and hit a heads, go back in canceling Cologne, and knock out my Mimikyu. It was a pretty, I was like kind of upset because I like kind of like battled back into a game that I sort of misplayed in initially, drew poorly into I like to open the game. And I was not expecting this Cyllene. Like this is back-to-back rounds, technically 3 rounds in a short period of time if you count the Chien-Pao game the day before. I just got absolutely bodied by an unexpected Cyllene. Um, so it was kind of, yeah, just Cyllene just is very, very rude. But the second game went a lot better for me. Like well, I opened Chi-Yu, which just sucked. I got like an early Fang snipe in and started discarding their trainers. Oh, another thing that sucked about that game one against Golden goes I priced Eri, so I had so little way to discard their like FCRs out of their hands. Or yeah. But game 2 went a lot better because like, my opponent like wasn't playing around Eri, so I was able to like punish them pretty bad for it, like Fang Snipe and stuff. Like I Aried away their canceling clone, which was pretty big. And it basically came down to the exact same thing as game 1, where if basically the Cyllene hits a heads, they get back Cologne, they probably win. But fortunately, this time Cyllene did double tails, and this is where I have to give a big shout out to my opponent. There's like a minute left on the clock, and they had no win con in like a 7-card deck, so I technically couldn't win the game because I can't promote Chi-Yu or I just get subspace swelled and lose the game. And they could easily also, with the amount of actions and shuffling that Goldengo can do, they could easily make their turn last for a minute, and totally prevent themselves from, yeah, from losing the game basically. But my opponent did decide to scoop it up with a minute to go, which was kind of cool. Because now, I mean, I was very happy with a tie because I definitely could have been a loss. Had my opponents not been nice, basically, like honored that I had game on board. You guys realize I had not been looking at chat this entire time. I'm terrible. Sheesh. Okay. All right. I'm cringe. Okay, let me get back. Yeah, let's look back in chat here. You said you sat next to me round 2. You're glad to meet me IRL. Oh, which one were you? Because I sat next to, there was one of my friends playing Moonsparce next to me. Then there was a Lugia, a Future, and a Gudra. What's the general goal with Wigglytuff? It's basically just to be a big Pokemon that price trades well with some of your normally more tricky matchups like Lost Box, Gardevoir, Roaring Moon, stuff, Lost Box, Future Hands. I'm playing Deck Out Monday now. We're just talking about the Orlando regionals. Love to see stall / control players frustrated. Nah. Yeah, Wigglytuff is just there to be like an awkward threat for our opponent, like force more resources out of them, take important things out of play. But yeah, the overall goal is the win. But yeah, shout out to my opponent for being cool and not like slow playing into the tie. The last Gudra you'd use. Okay, yeah. The Mac gave it away. I did have quite a few people who like yeah, at least 3 or 4 people who didn't know it was me, and then were like, "Oh, you're Alloutblitzle." Like I thought it was Alloutblitzle, but now that they saw the mat, they knew it was me. So, that was pretty sick. Yo, Alloutblitzle merch. Do people want the mats? I guess can't really see it in the picture here, but it's just a mat with my my logo on it. Was that a Gudra? You want shirts? Maybe. But yeah, I didn't realize my map was that cool. But I mean, we could we could maybe produce more of these. Um, get some all-out imposters out there. Seems good. Orlando Magic with a Blitzless shirt for sure. Iconic duo. So yeah, that was round 11 rounds, and I was feeling a lot better. Like I've been, I mentioned how I was very like, been frustrated after those 4 previous rounds. That one way or another they were frustrating games. But my opponent was very nice, and like the games were pretty enjoyable despite the fact that my deck wasn't working at full capacity. Um, so I was pretty happy with the this game made me feel better basically. So I didn't have too much time. I went to go even like these last 2 rounds had gone to time basically. So I didn't have like too much time to like get something to eat, get something to drink, like use the bathroom, like all that stuff. Like I barely had time to regroup, and then they just I paired against Grant Manley, who yeah, absolute legends, and their group had ended up on Lost Tina, Caleb, Azul, Grants. So I mean I'd heard from someone else that they were on Zard, so like okay, this seems fine. But then it was not Zard, it was Tina. But fortunately for me, Grant went first and opened Sableye Draw Pass. So that was cool. I wasn't able to then the next turn he played Colress and started getting moving a little bit, like got to the Abyss Seeking and stuff. But I was able to like Wigglytuff and like punch the Giratina right away. And I airied a couple gates away as well. So he had like lost in the gate, I think, and was down 2 gates. I had the other one like sitting in hands, like right where I knew where it was. So yeah, I think he like burns a gates, like Iron Leaves KO my bench Lumineon. But at that point he's like basically out of attackers from that point forward. So I just like can boss and pressure or counter catch and pressure whatever, like whenever he puts energy on a Tina. Like that's like I don't care about Iron Leaves. Like if he's using switches to attack with Iron Leaves, I can win with Retreat Lock. Like the Tinas can one-hit stuff. Like that's what I'm really scared of. So I was able to like 160 punch both of the Giratinas. And then after that, like you can V-Star them. They're still in range of Radiant Charizard. So I was able to close out the game by Ionoing to 2 or 3. And knocked him out with Gradzard. I signed your playmat? I did? I know I signed a few mats, but I'm sick. I'm glad we got that done. Cause like yeah, you were messaging me about it, and I was like, after a couple rounds where I didn't have too much time afterwards, so I felt kind of bad about not getting back to you right away. But I'm glad we got it done. So I was able to win like kind of a tight game 1. That did recurring theme lasted a while. And this match does take like a while to develop. In game 2, Grant could not find a Colress at all. Several flower selects, can't get there. So I'm able to like Luxray and take away a lot of key resources out of the hands, like Cape Luxray. So can't even like Lost Impact me, like can't manually load a Patina and Lost Impact me. Like if it has to use Requiem, I'm not super disappointed. He starts shredding with his 1 Tina V in play, which kind of fine with me. I think I've sistered away gates. I think I've sistered away 2 gates. Fang sniped away a gate. Like it was basically out of gates, I think. So I went for a really sick play where I let my Luxray go down. So at that point, grants up 4 prizes, and then I had it all ready in my hands. I had Ultra Ball, Fire Energy, and Mela. So I can Ultra Ball for the Radiant Zard, discard the Fire Energy, Mela, test the DTE, knockout. And that was super sick. And then at that point, like, I was fairly sure I wasn't gonna win the game, just where I was at resource wise. But the point wasn't necessarily to win the game. It was to do, like, not slow play, but put enough pressure on Grant to make him play the game so the game doesn't finish. Like, if I Radzard and kill the Tina, has to keep flower selecting, like, play down a bunch more cards, basically. Like, if I just sit there and do, like, passive stuff, I'm not gonna win the game. Like, I have to be somewhat aggressive to put the pressure on him to just basically extend the game. So I was able to, yeah, do that Mela play, which is really good considering how many gates were I used up, and like a super I'd gotten lost in as well. So yeah, I think I was able to, like, the following turn, like, sister away, like, the last gates, and I'm pretty sure he burned the other rod. So was out of gates, had like two Tina V stars on the bench, and was just Sableyeing over and over again. But I was in sort of a weird spot because I had burned my Mist energy early. If I Wigglytuff and kill Sableye, I get Requiemed and I lose. And my Radzard is down, I think. So I Radzarded I Radzarded a Cram and then Sableye knocked it out, I think. Or something like that. So I had like Wigglytuff on the bench, like 140 damage, Mimikyu active, so it couldn't get like lost impacted, and Pidgeot. So yeah, the Wigglytuff, like, he lost mine up to 140. I put an energy on to buff his HP by 100. Then he just goes draw, lost mine again because, like, it's almost close to time. Like, really wants to play super fast. So then I can go Lost Vacuum because I put such like a Bravery Charm on it earlier, so Jigglypuff couldn't get crammed. Lost Vacuum off the charm, attach Cape. So now it's well out of Sableye range, and then at that point they call turn. They call time. So I'm turn 0. So basically Grant has 2 turns to win the game and force a tie. So he uses his first turn of time to Lost Mine and KO my active Mimikyu, but makes a key misplay and evolves up a bench Tina V star, and has no energies on it. Yo, what's up, Orf? So then I'm able to counter catcher up that Tina V star. Because remember, all 4 gates are down, both switches are down, and Temple is down, so Jets don't work. I can counter catch up that Tina, Snorlax in the active spot, Iono to 1, and there's literally 0 way for Grant to win in 1 turn. So I Iono him into a Colress draws a bunch of cards, but it's impossible to get there, so managed to escape that one with a 1-0 victory. Yeah, really crazy games. Definitely was lucky that he had slow starts both games, and I was not bothered by Spirit Team too much because my hands were pretty good. But yeah, we take those. So yeah, at this point I need to, like, win all my last remaining rounds to get top 32 and get money, and that would be pretty dope, right? So we're 7-2-3 at this point. Yeah, have to win the remaining 3 rounds. But yeah, after like that feel good tie and this dub over Tina, I was actually feeling like my confidence had been restored. Like, I was on that 601 like run day 1. I feel like I was playing some of my best Pokemon I've been playing in a while. Like I feel like I was making all the right plays and stuff, but like kind of at the end of the day, I think the tiredness was starting to get to me, and like my quality of play had definitely suffered. But I was so yeah, like I wasn't feeling super confident going into day 2, but after picking up the dub there, I was feeling a lot better about myself. So then next rounds, I face yet another unique deck, Sablezard. But this list isn't your typical Sablezard list. there's some fun tricks in here. There's like they open hands, so that was interesting. And I miss Fortune Sisters, like turn 3 or turn 4. I see a super effective glasses. I'm just like, hold up, what is going on here? I was very confused. Like, what, what the heck is happening? Why did I add Pal Pad? I've had 3 Pal Pads in all of my control lists. But game 1, like this match is fairly easy just because they have no answer to Wigglytuff. Like Luxray can get a ton of value early, and then whatever they respond with just gets Wigglytuffed. And I was able to Fang Snipe, I think, both Boss and I Eri to wake Prime Catcher, so there was no Gust left. So yeah, I just totally cooked in game 1. But I was off to a much slower start game 2, and they had like a turn 4. And I was able to Fang Snipe away their Prime Catcher because they had like double gate in hands and glasses and a gear. So they could potentially boss and amp my Pidgeot for 3 prizes, which would basically win them the game on the spot. Thank you, Rubik. And sure enough, they Flower Select, they play their gear. Boss was the first card they pulled off the gear. So they won the game. That won them the game. I tried to respond back with like a Radzard play. Since like most of their I think all of their rods were down. But they ended up closing out the game with a Sableye. So that was that. We did not have too much time left for game 3, and neither one of us want to tie at the like. Both of us are in contention for top 32 if we win out. A tie would eliminate both of us. Neither one of us want that. So we get an agreement going into the game to whoever if there is an agreeable like board state, like there's a clear winner after 3 turns of time, that person would win the game. And like normally it's kind of disadvantageous to play super fast with control, and I play really fast. I've had I had 2 Cyllene and no pad at one point. No, I did not. I've always had 3 Pal Pad. I've had 1 Yaocheer before, or I had 2 Cyllene, and now I have 1 Cyllene, 1 Yaocheer. Anyway. Yeah, tie screws us both over, so we agree that the winner of the game will have it on board. So he wanted prize cards, but I'm never gonna agree to a gentleman's on prize cards. Like with a control deck. Like one of my friends made that mistake day 1 of their win it into day 2. They took a gentleman's on prize cards, and they basically just scooped game 3. Because they would agree to a gentleman's on board state, they probably would have won. But yeah. So yeah, like I was saying, it's normally disadvantageous to play fast with control, because like if it can turn ties into losses and wins into ties, just because like most of your games consist of winning a 35-40 minute game 1, and you basically just have to set up game 2 to not get donked, and you're good to go. But multiple of my opponents mentioned over the weekend that I play really fast, and that is true. And that's not generally good for control. Because it basically means I need to win 2-0 instead of maybe 1-0 a lot of the time. But in this case, it was helpful. Because if I had gone like kind of slower game 1 and a very, very winnable game 1, or yeah, in a game I was comfortably favored throughout, that my opponents didn't scoop up until very late, I would have lost that game 2, and there would have been very little time for game 3. But we were both playing pretty fast. We were both playing to win. My opponent opens Radzard draw pass. So I'm able to have a pretty hot start, get the Wigglytuff down. Yeah, I just set up much better than I did game 2. Wigglytuff is so tough for this deck to respond with. I think they spit and then like gate Radzard, knock it out, but that doesn't matter because like I've milled. They lost in a rod. I discarded the other 2, so then I go Radzard, knock out their Radzard, and they had to like commit like a 3 energy Radzard to KO my Wigglytuff. I discarded a couple energies before as well, so they were basically limited to cram for the rest of the game, and that's never beating Radzard and Pidgeot. So I was able to deck them out with Chi-Yu on turn 2 of time. And we did have that gentleman's agreement in place, so I had it on board state anyway, even if I hadn't been able to win. But it was definitely nice to get that dub, because it was, yeah, it's always kind of stressful to have to go to a gentleman's, because you hear those horror stories of someone being like backing out and then both players tie and it screws them both over. So shout out to my opponent for not slow playing, even though it kind of could have been potentially advantageous to them. One thing that they didn't do at all against me that would have been really annoying was they lost on Devolution game 1. Game 2 was so washed it didn't matter. And game 3, like, they could have gone for Devo much more aggressively, but didn't. And they definitely should have. They were trying to like line up amp plays on my bird, but Devo is just such an annoyance. So able to escape with the dub on turn 2 of time, putting me at 9-2-3. No, 8-2-3. My second dub of day 2. So yeah, jump all the way up to table 46. Like, was it one of the bottom tables of day 2? Just a couple rounds before, and now we're climbing up there. And this game was very, very interesting. Was this who I was up against? No, that was not it. Definitely not it. Let me just pull up the Gym Pal list. Oh yeah, they're almost the same one. Yeah, I got you baited. Up against Gym Pal, and they won the flip, opted first. And I opened Radiant Charizard, which normally like sucks because like 3 retreats, not easy to move. I can't like board and move it into an actual attacker, but it is pretty ambiguous. And it doesn't instantly tell that I'm playing control. Like, it's not like Mimikyu, it's not like Luxray. Like, if you see Radiant Charizard is a 22% deck, or like 20% of day 2. I flip over Radzard, you probably should make an educated guess that it was Charizard, right? That's the deal with any slow players in the tournament? Yeah, 1. That a Spathra was really bad. Other than that, none. Was your stocking not good enough? Your stocking was fun. I mean, your stocking was weird, but it was cool at the same time. So since I open Radzard, they like pop in and go double bib. So basically, like, I basically won on the spot at that point. Yeah, they didn't really have much of a. I just retreat locked their barrel, got up the other barrel. After they put 3 energies on all those things, gusted up the Baxcalibur. And yeah, they had, I spread all their energies out, so they lost the game. Oh yeah, like it totally makes sense for my opponent to guess Zard, because like if you don't set up your bibs, yeah, like, you're not in a great spot. So like my opponent just got, yeah, like I think there was only 3 controls in day 2. So it was definitely reasonable for them to assume that it was Charizard. Like there was the day 2 is 20% Zard versus whatever, like 3 control decks. So game 1 they got punished pretty bad for it. What was weird is like I sistered away their prime, right? they refused to scoop. They played it until they decked out. Very weird to play for the tie when we need to both win out for top 32. Then they opened Bidoof game 2, and they went crazy. Like they hit like 7 heads on 10 tail smashes. So that kind of put a lot of pressure on my pennies and stuff. But in the end, there just wasn't enough time to conclude game 2, largely because they just didn't scoop. So they were still like 4 prizes left when time was called, and just, yeah, that was that. So picked up the 1-0 dub over Chimpao, setting us up for the final game, the $1,000 money match. Yeah, what's up, Sodium Addict? So I was like, I felt really good. Like I wasn't really nervous at all. I felt like after those first couple rounds, my play had been super clean. I was feeling really good. And then my opponent chooses second. That's fine. And I see them open Charmander, and I'm ecstatic. Only my second Charizard of the entire tournament, and it happens to come in the win it in for top 32. And my resistance was super cracked, so I knew if I won, I had basically 0 chance of whiffing top 32. Like I was guaranteed. Like if I win, I am yeah, just win for $1,000 against one of my best matchups, basically, right? Well, it got off to kind of a rocky start. Like I went first, instant charged, and we had the Pidgeot play all lines up. My fourth seal was prized. I opened Lumineon, and I played the turn 1 Iono to put my candy Pidgeot to the bottom. So it took me a couple turns of instant charging to reestablish it, and at that point they were able to eat up a couple cheap prizes while I was just trying to develop. Like they killed my Mimikyu with the Charmeleon. And then like once I finally did get my bird established, I like prized my mist energy. So they hit me with the Devo. Pidgeot gets yeeted back into my hands. My hand was entirely dead, and I had no way to play around that. I mean, I guess I could have quick searched for candy the following turn, but I was also like sort of playing around Eri. Like I didn't want to like do that because, you know, Eri Devo I'd still get farmed by that. And like I'd went in with Luxray, so I felt like confident that they wouldn't have like an amazing answer, I guess. But I got devoed, and it hurt really bad. I had to instant charge for I think it was 4 turns before I found an Arven to reestablish. Like I had 3 Arvens remaining in like probably a 15 card deck. It sucked. But it's the Zard matchup is so free that I like sistered away a Lost Vacuum earlier. They had spent 2 bosses, and I had nothing on the bench that was a knockout with boss, and they had 2 prizes left. So in my head, Vacuum gone, no bosses left, or 1 boss left. I just stick Klawf EX with the Defiance Vest on it, and I've not played very many pennies at all this game, and I sold my Yoshi, I sold all my pads. they run out of energies. I think I had discarded a Super Rod as well. So I just Penny Loop and win this game. I had totally stabilized and stuff. I was I was pretty sure that despite all the crazy stuff that happens, we had won the game. And so my opponent's quick searches, grabs Arven for max belts, and the second Lost Vacuum to vacuum the Defiance Vest off my Klawf, max belt the Zard, hit it for 230, and take the game. And at that point, the judges swooped in for a random deck check. So we got like a big time extension. But yeah, I knew the run was over. Like it was a long game one that I never was in a position to scoop in. Like I was very winnable until the second vacuum hits. Which you might be like, okay, was I correct in not playing around second vacuum? I'm not sure. I could have like sistered the last turn instead of playing Eri or whatever. But I feel like I was very, very I looked at Livinos after the match, and I feel like my line of play was very justified. Average of 1.04 copies of Lost Vacuum in Charizard. Like that was not something I correctly should have played around. So it hurt. It really hurt. Like after my opponent played the vac, I like looked through the discard pile, like make sure they hadn't like palmed it or something. But it was real. So yeah, we're just kind of like awkwardly sitting through the deck check. There's probably 20. I think there was like, including our time extension, we had like 22 minutes left. Which is nowhere near enough time to finish 2 games, and potentially not enough to finish 1 because they have Ionis and whatnot. This time I get the miss on, like I set up relatively quick, get the miss on my Pidgeot to get going. They're like able to heat tackle and knock out their own Charmander so they can hit 210. And they were like just doing stuff, like playing, like, yeah, they're just like playing out all their cards, quick searching for stuff. Like there's just too many actions to ever finish the game. So I was in a position to win, because they had 1 boss and 1 Lost Vacuum left, so they could vacuum and kill my active Klawf, but then they can't ever boss around Mimikyu to win the game, or can't ever. There's no prize on my board that they could boss and win. So I'd win by deck out eventually, but time was called. They still had like 15 cards left in deck. So unfortunately, I had to pick up my cards and the run was over. 1 game short of top 32. So that one really stung because I felt like I played, in the most part, that's like with the cards I was dealt, I felt like I played pretty good. It was it just hurt because like it's like second loss vac, come on. And I was like my only loss condition, unless they like aside from like a Pal Pad, but like they had 3 boss, so I assume no pad. So yeah, it really hurt to come up 1 game short. Like it was a tremendous run, but it's crazy how you can go from win it into top 32, win it into $1,000. I probably would have got like high 20th place, right? All the way down to 83rd. And that is so from $1,000 and like it's me, I win that game, that's $1,000 and a booster box. But since I lost 40 CP and no other prizes, so it hurt. Yeah, Goldwire, I'm like, my next project that I'm gonna work on is a Wigglytuff control guide. That's the next thing on the menu. Oh yeah, it was great to chat and hang out, Umi. That was probably the all people, like aside from you're probably like person I talked to the most over the weekend, which is kind of funny. But yeah, shout out to Umi Force for also making a day 2 with a control. But yeah, that loss hurt. And yeah, kind of brutal to go all the way from winning to 32 to down to top 128s. But how was my game against Anthony Zhang? Yeah, I just talked about it, but he like I opened Radzard game 1 and he set up double barrel, so I just won with retreat lock. And game 2 he opened Bidoof, and it also just like refused to scoop game 1, even though there was 0 shot that he was gonna win. So, game 2 didn't finish, and I got the dub. So yeah, I was pretty. I mean, it was. I'm very happy. That's like. I think for the most part I played very well. Like obviously, if I don't get that silly penalty for benching 5 and drawing cards under a collapse, this could get flipped to a win. Like if I played around the Cyllene, I could, or played around 4th Candy, could have maybe got there. Played the like there's like a lot of places where I maybe could have done something differently, but yeah, it's especially weird when like people play for the tie in like day 2, when like especially in like these spots where you're like, yeah, gotta win or you're like 1 match point. Okay, maybe it's the difference between 64 and 128 or 128 and 256, but like, I mean, at least for me and not being able to go to a ton of regionals, like I'm trying to make the most, get the most points, get the most CP and stuff. Like, even if I have to take risks sometimes, I feel like going for the wins always better. But yeah, that happened multiple times over the weekend where I had people who would just like refuse to scoop and would just take their sweet time. And even when I had them absolutely checkmated. So it was strange. But yeah, I don't really have any regrets. I think like I there's a couple points where I could have done something different, but I think overall like I like at least day 1, very happy with my quality of play. It definitely slipped into the latter rounds and wasn't great early day 2, but I'd say overall was a very good. Am I playing a Sundays and Deck Out today? Nah, I'm like I just got home earlier today, so like I'm tired, and I just kind of wanted to take it easy a little bit. Like I still wanted to stream because it's been like a week since last stream, and I wanted to like talk about what happened in Orlando, but also I didn't want to like stay up super late. Yeah, I exactly the same thing happened to me, Umi. It was so like so strange. Yeah, you had your first master day 2. You also to Kieran's CPAL because you prize Manaphy twice. Do you have win condition? It's Arc Vulpix, like a solo Vulpix? Yeah, Klawf. Just Penny Loop Klawf, and eventually they run out of energies. It was kind of funny because I did sit next to an Arc Vulpix, and he was like, "Oh, I wish I was playing against you. I'd totally cook your deck." And I was like, "No." Doesn't the attack go through Klawf? No. Because Vulpix just the Klawf attack or the Klawf ability is an effect on the energy cards. Like this just this would just like go through like a safeguard or something. Like it's not or yeah, the effect of Klawf's ability isn't an effect on Klawf itself. It's an effect on the active after it gets hit. Or at least that's. I've had this interaction happen on a live, where it gets hit and then the energy gets discarded. Yeah, I was like initially kind of like sketched out by cutting fighting. Okay, this is kind of gross. I'll just look over it. But yeah, there's never a single time where I wanted Falling Press as an option, and that may have been because I didn't have a single Arc or Lugia. So I didn't necessarily need that, but yeah, I faced. I got so much variety. It was crazy. Because it's like 1, 2, 3, technically 4, because this is Moon. 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. 12 unique decks in 15 rounds. So that was pretty crazy. Yeah, the Falling Press as an option is pretty good against Arctina. And Arctina did have a solid tournament overall. Like I think there's a couple in top 16, yeah. But I guess now since we like already went over all the matches, we could let's talk about like what I think about Control moving forward. Because I actually think what's kind of weird is like Control did super well at EUIC, right? Like the 2 in top 8, 1 in top 4. But there were only 3 that made day 2. And none of them did, like, we didn't do all that exceptional. Like, we made day 2, got top 128, 128, 256. Yeah, it is pretty cool that there's so many viable decks. That is pretty neat. But I thought Control was fairly well positioned, and like I didn't really see it too much either day. I don't really know why that was. So I guess if one thing that might have contributed to it is like the Noivern in Cremascoli's list isn't really like, it lost a lot of value going into this weekend because I'm sure most of the futures were on double psychic energy. Like if I were just to guess, there's double psychic, like I mean there's a single psychic on the Devo. Yeah, majority of feature lists are in double psychic, so they can shuttles through your Noivern. And one thing that I didn't really expect was Ancient Box was multiple of these Ancient Box decks were playing a fire energy, so they can Koraidon and 2-hit your Noivern. So yeah, Noivern lost a ton of value. And if a lot of people just net decked Cremascoli, they were kind of a step behind. And Cremascoli did say on like the Lake of Rage podcast today that like Noivern was not the move anymore because now that it was, the secret was out. But who knows? Noivern might become the move again if these counts drop. I also had a lot of people like say that like when like they come up and talk to me, they'd be like, I wish I played Control like I was thinking about it. And I was like, dang. It is kind of gutsy to play Control though, because like a lot can go wrong. And it's definitely very taxing to play the deck. So I guess that's like one of the reasons why I think, yeah, you were the only Noivern in day 2, because the other one was Wigglytuff. It was 59 cards, the same as on my list. I cut the Mela for a Defiance band. So yeah, I think if you were a step behind and playing Noivern, that got like significantly worse. I like Wigglytuff was probably like the best positioned package for the weekend. And also I think moving forward, like Future and Lugia did, I mean Lugia had a better weekend than it did at EYC, but still didn't do great. Like one in what? Yeah, there's one in top 32, there's a couple on the outside. Future Hands whiffed top 8s, did pick up a couple like 32s and 16s, but and I'd say Ancient had like Ancient didn't get like a massive quantity of finishes, but it got a big finish. And Ancient is like Roaring Moon last formats. It wasn't the best deck by any means, but it became the most popular deck because it was like fast and easy and all like the factors that kind of lead to the more casual players like playing the deck. And this deck, I would not be surprised if it becomes very popular. Like, it's pretty cheap to build. It's not very hard. I mean, the resource management aspect is a little tricky sometimes with this deck, but like it's not that hard overall. And people love their single price decks, and people love their love their fast aggro decks. So if Ancient Box is gonna be popular, I think that's great for control. And then also Moon picked up another finish for itself as well. And they also had the answer to control with their list. Like they have the gouge to deal with the Mist Energy Noivern. So even though they do have Temple to deal with the Wigglytuff, like you don't just like if they gouge the Tough, the game isn't instantly over. Because like, presumably you have other Pokemon in play, whereas like you have Cyllene Noivern, which is like optimal, right? So they can't like boss prime around it or bundle boss, like whatever, to get around it. You don't just instantly lose to Temple. So yeah, like if those decks can continue to trend upward, seems really good for control. And another thing is, Tordzard won again. And they're not playing max belts, which I think makes a lot of sense because max belt really is only a mirror card. And kind of C-PAL. I guess C-PAL, but if you're playing Devos and stuff, you should already probably beat C-PAL. The whole Devo like arms race thing that's happening, where people are playing one Devo or two Devos. If people are gonna play like double Charmeleon, playing Devo seems really bad. Just having like primes like more aggressively chase the two prizers seems pretty good. Or even though like the Defiance band is basically max belts in Meteor Mash, it doesn't mean like you can't like aggressively chase the Pidgeot. But yeah, if most of like almost all those Zards that did well, like Liam didn't play it, Celio didn't play it, William switched over to Prime Catcher. And yeah, Vaughn played Cape. Like, you have to go fairly far to get to the first Zard list playing maximum belts. So it'll be interesting to see if this trend continues. Like, yeah, you have to. There was no max belt Zards in top 32. Which is definitely a good development for control. So I'm planning on, and like also Gardevoir's become more of an established quantity. Like that's a good matchup for, I guess, specifically the Wigglytuff builds. So yeah, like I'm going to Indianapolis here in a couple, it's like 3-4 weeks or whatever, and I'm fairly confident I'll be running it back with control, just because there's only like the one regional in between, and that's in Latin America. And whether it's like people don't put as much weight in the Latin American results as they do in American results. So like even if they're, and like also Brazil is kind of Latin America is kind of notorious for loving Charizard. So I think regardless, the meta is not going to change too much, and I'm gonna run back control because I feel like I didn't necessarily have the best draw of matchups. I like I feel like my path to like maybe like a little more experience. Like if I take what I've, because like this was one of my first major of the year. Like I take what I learned from this run and like I did it over again. Got the exact same matchups, the exact same draws. I am pretty sure I make top 32 and could have gone deeper, which is a little more experience, I think. So I mean, all of it is a learning experience. Like, still incredibly grateful for what I accomplished. Like, it was very special. And it was really fun to meet a ton of new people. The Discord broke the Twitch chat, which is hilarious. Yeah, it was a very cool weekend. Yeah, I'd like I said, I don't have any regrets. Like, I'd run back the same 60 if I were to do it over again. But now that we've gone over every kind of detail I think I wanted to touch on my tournament run. I wanted to look at some of the more interesting decks because there's so much diversity in these top 32 decks. Like I don't know how many different archetypes are represented, but it's quite a few. We already kind of looked at like Liam's list, which is basically Charizard copy pasted. Jake got second with Ancient Box, which we did sort of look at earlier, which I was very surprised by because like I've been kind of a big Ancient hater. And I still don't like taking the unfavored into Zard. Like your matchup spread aside from that isn't bad, but I think the Zard matchup is pretty not good. Especially if they're playing the Tord list with the double Turo. You're not getting those 2-hit KOs early, which makes it really hard for you to keep up in the prize race. Because you can kind of scale to get 1-hits later, but like if you start like 3 prizes behind, or yeah, you kind of lose. So, yeah, I'm not like sold that Ancient Box is like a super real like broken deck. I think it's okay. I think it's probably tier 2. But I think it's gonna get popular. Like it would not surprise me if for Indie it is the 3rd most popular deck. I don't think it'll pass. It's not gonna pass Charizard. I don't think it will pass Chimpao, especially after Chimpao had kind of a bounce back weekends. But yeah, I'm expecting Ancient Box to get more popular, as well as Gardevoir. Like Gardevoir's a fan favorite deck, like pre-rotation. And people have kind of cracked the right lists for it post-rotation. What are my thoughts on Gardevoir's Raging Bolts? I think it's just a more like just a clunkier version of Gardevoir. Like the Gardevoir Drifloon Scream Tail, like all this is a pretty solid deck. You're just like kind of you're just clunking it up for not too much upside, I feel. The Zard is 65-35 for Ancients? I don't believe that. That does not sound right. Yeah. Especially with the Aturos and stuff. Because I feel like now after this weekend, you just like go into you like going into Zard, you're expecting double Turo now. I mean, you do like start off aggressive, like take the first prize presumably. And like if you hit your booster capsules, it's like kind of awkward. I'm playing the event series or just recapping Orlando. Yeah, I'm just recapping Orlando because I'm not really. I'm just got back home this morning. Haven't. Seeing Zard's favorite. Okay, yeah. I like the way you phrased it and you said Ancient 65-35 into Zard, like you didn't put it the other way around. I was just like, what? Yeah, just recapping Orlando because like I wanted to like make like a video like on my tournament run because like I think there's like stuff to be learned, experiences to share and stuff, but like I don't feel like editing or doing that stuff today. I feel like I probably won't feel like doing it tomorrow either. So it's like I don't. It probably feels more authentic too if it like not any cuts or fancy edits. It's just just me. Uh, dude, Control seems better positioned for Indy than Orlando. I'm very excited. I think catcher's probably optimal. And this is not just like a Control player spreading propaganda. Belts doesn't really help you that much. And it comes like at the like the opportunity cost associated with Belt is you lose out on Prime or Cape. Which can be game-changing cards in different ways. Whereas Max is really just good in like 2 matchups. What other control cards are out there that do you foresee that might be included in the deck? That's a good question. I'm really like I said in the post, I'm really happy with this list. I really am not sure I'd change anything. Or like there's anything that was like a 61st card. Because I was initially on the fence about cutting fighting, but like I don't think that fighting is really that great now. Like I think like most of the games that I lost or tied were because I got off to a slow start. So just putting in like another Ultra Ball, another Forest Seal Stone, second Iono, like those would probably be my highest priority cards. But in terms of like cute control cards to like do silly stuff, I don't think there's nothing that I have in mind, I guess. Like no Sandshrew for the mirrors or Zubat or any kind of sauce like that. Oh yeah, King, we're gonna we need the Discord to just all roll up with Wigglytuff and see how many we can get in day 2. Where were we? So we looked at the Gardevoir and Reg and C POW isn't anything super. Yeah, Indy's exact same format. This Chimpalist was pretty good. They got top board, 2 in top 32 and a top 64. So the reason why I have Mela over Basin's mainly the synergy with Wigglytuff. Especially in that Mugia matchup, like being able to load up Pidgeot all in one turn to hit for 120. Or Wigglytuff if you whiff an attachment. And not being able to combine with my Iono does kind of suck. And it's having like a counter stadium can just be kind of good sometimes. And the card draw with Mela is kind of irrelevant. So, and like damaging. I don't play the Boof a lot, but yeah, if I did, that would be pretty good. Much like the 20 damage from. So you can, yeah. I have to damage yourself too, and I'm like trying to think of like any interactions where that would hinder you. Like I guess if you pinged yourself for a 20, like a Lugia could always one hit you, like even if you charmed up and they had a DTE on active. I guess if you base them onto Chi, then Zard could reach you, but like those interactions are kind of niche. Yeah, there were a couple times where I also did want a Stadium Bump. I speak Brazilian Portuguese. Dang, I did not realize that. Sick. Yeah, I'm actually like the Mela versus Basin could be like an interesting conversation, I guess, because like the game where I used the Mela versus Grant, like also being able to go like Magma Basin plus Eri would have been pretty good. So there's like pros and cons to both. Mela also does have the added benefit of being a little more searchable because you have the Lumineons and the Ultra Balls. And being a little more versatile of a card. Or at least more versatile at loading up your attackers. And being like a draw supporter in a pinch. But I'm not 100% sure it's better. But yeah, back to the regularly scheduled programming. The Reagan CPAL list was pretty much, this is a boring CPAL list. It played Cyllene, which I think what is pretty smart. Like, I think it's always better than like fourth candy because it's like basically a 75% chance at Gust at worst, and lets you play around area a little bit better. Do you ever minus sisters from like Eri? No. I like having the balance for both. Like just having both as options. Like your super Pokegear build. There were a couple of times like I got punished for benching fish, but I was just like Ultra Ball is such a good card. And you were telling me this weekend a couple of times where you're like after like round 4 or it was, you're like you weren't liking the Pokegears, so. Oh man. Yeah, that's true. And one kind of annoying thing that I had happened to me a couple of times was I like opened the fish, then my Ultra Balls felt kind of dead. Or at least they just didn't feel as good to have sitting in my hand. Which obviously opening fish isn't terribly high odds, but the times it did happen, it really sucked. Cause like 2, 5, 8, 12, 13 basics, so 1 out of 13. Technically even lower odds than that because you could draw 2 basics. So light. But I feel like in the Wigglytuff builds, like you always want more Ultra Balls to find the tough because it's so integral in a lot of matchups. And yeah, King's right, it does have the Cleffa synergy too. I think Lumineon doesn't get punished often enough for it to like be like a true liability. Like there are times where it does suck to have, you have Rotom, you have Lumineon on the bench, and your opponent can boss and take some easy prizes. But in some of those matches, you can like charm up one of the two, and then that gets out of range. You can penny up later. But yeah, I definitely lost a couple games over the weekend. I think I lost 1 or 2 games because like I couldn't penny up the fish fast enough, and like theoretically, if gear hit Arven, I would have been in a better spot. But also if you just like gear for Arven, you don't have 4 Sealstone, right? Like you don't have a 4 Seals on target. Like if like that's you're trying to get to a turn 2 Pidgeot is like not guaranteed. But I guess you're like always benching Rotom, so it's like not that big of a deal. Okay, anyway, we're getting sidetracked. Yeah, that is kind of true. The Lugia matchup in general is kind of cringe. We already like Luke's list is basically Liam's. There's a Moon to Dunsparce getting like I top 8 at EUIC, then top 8's Orlando, so it's pretty similar to the EUIC list with the added Temple. I think this deck is pretty good. It would not surprise me if it keeps getting more popular. And there was something kind of crazy that they mentioned on the stream. They're interviewing one of the vendors, and the guy who was running the vendor said that they sold 300 Dunsparces on Friday, Saturday combined. So people are picking up the Dunces to try out this deck. So yeah. You'll shut up. You don't have to shut up. It's fine. I'm not always right. I have bad takes too. It's okay. So there's a top 8 Tina list. Like Thornton Ultra Ball, which is kind of cute. The 2/3 Tina. I mean, Thornton's a pretty powerful card in Tina, but I don't know how actually often you find it. I mean, you have gears. But how much like how often you get value out of this? I think he was able to pull like a 6th Thornton playoff on stream. Um, there's like no vacuum in here, which I think might be optimal for Tina, just because there's like not a lot of ways to trigger it. Yeah, the Dunsparce is really cool. Um, yes. Thornton's so mid. It is just difficult to utilize in this deck. Like, it's no doubt a powerful card when it works, but also like like you like prizing a Tina V and only having one seems really bad, like 1 in 10 games. Like, are you really using Thornton that like more frequently than you prize the third or the one of the two Tinas? I'm not sure like Thornton comes up that frequently. Let's put that played by Brandon Dean. It is. How does Pidgeot control beat Moonsparce? Wigglytuff is pretty goated. Wigglytuff Radzard prize trade. If they do find they're a temple, I mean it's basically a 2-for-2 trade. And Wigglytuff, presumably got a ton of value before that, and it's kind of hard for them to set up when they can't bench Greninja. It's like these ancient decks have a really hard time getting off the ground when they can't conceal cards. So the final top 8 player was Fabrizio. It did sit next to Fabrizio one time. But yeah, just a really no sauce in here. There's just like a cologne and a vac. Only 2 stops, but yeah, pretty standard. So now I'm not gonna look like everything else. Just kind of touch on the stuff that was other cool stuff, like this Artina. I'm pretty sure Joe lost the wind in on stream. Super heavy Lost City is kind of crazy, and the judges and stuff. Like super heavy Judge City. I feel like a lot of the lists, like at least online, are playing not too many judges, like 1 or 0 cities. So this is definitely concerning for control. I mean, 3 city does seem kind of crazy, but I mean, sending stuff to the Lost Zone is pretty good, I guess. 4 boss, 3 city. Pre-broken. Best Prying Future box was really nothing super fancy, just kind of the same same old stuff we're used to. I mean, I'm personally prepared to run it back with Wigglytuff. At least that's what I'm on currently. I agree, Jeff. Like I'm not in a hurry to say Ancient Box. Like I definitely gave the deck a tough time when it came out because it got so much hype and it was terrible. And the lists have evolved somewhat, like at least playing like super heavy gears and stops. But I still don't think it's anything like ultra special. Like it's probably a tier 2 deck. But I still think it's gonna get popular regardless. How chance our Arctine is only win cone is a cheese? That's kind of Arctine is a disaster. I thought that deck was gonna be better than it actually was. But like interestingly enough, there's not Aries. It's just like I'm gonna judge and city and spam that way. We're gonna try to win. So let's see other fun stuff. There was Zach Massage playing Lugia. That was the best performing Lugia at 19th. Just pretty standard Lugia list. There's nothing special here. Just like 4 research, which is good because like a lot of those initial Lugia lists are playing like 2 research, and that always seems so sketchy. Just looks pretty standard. And yeah, seems good. I guess the appeal, Jeff, is a single prizer, so it has more time. Like it takes more turns to beat it, so it has more time to develop its strategy. Orlando, you feel like you played well, just didn't draw well? You still went 5-3. What were your? I know you said one of your losses was because you prize double Pidgeot, and one was Lugia because you like prize tough one game. Which, yeah, is sort of unfortunate. I'm sorry. I'm sorry, Hunter. That you're so close to your invite. Nah, trust. Indy is day 2 in Indy. You got this. Drew Kennett is now apparently a Dialga enjoyer. Like played at USC and now day 2, top 32 in Orlando. I think this is kind of different though from it than his UIC list, right? Yeah, it goes from a heavy Arven Evo to now. So this is the UIC list. Arven Evo, Prime Catcher. So now we're on one Arven, Max Belts, another gear. It's very interesting. Just the progression from a week. So optimal Dialga question mark? Maybe as optimal as Dialga can be. Pretty funny. Let's see, Arc Armarouge got top 32 at UIC and got top 32 at Orlando. So Arc Armarouge seems to be like pretty. It's probably not the best Arc deck. Like Arc Team is probably better, but like this seems to be pretty solid. Doesn't look much different at all from the list that got top 32 at UIC. They're 57 points off at Indy. Yeah. So you basically just need to day 2, like top 2 for 56 basically, right? Like if you got 30 from top 2 for 56, you'd be good to go. Or you're saying you need 57 at Indy, so you need to top 32 is that what you're saying? For Ralligator, calm down. Game as Tina, things were going well, but you couldn't resolve Pidgeot after it went down. Arc Armarouge is a pretty, yeah, potentially powerful deck, but I tried it and I was just like, I mean, it's an arc pile at the end of the day. 5-12 needed, but 256 would make it easier. Yeah, that seems very, 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 very doable. So there's Arc Armarouge. There's even this is a Snorlax cell that I faced. Playing the like rescue board over at another copy of Switch, which is kind of neat. Yeah, I mean it's nothing like playing the Amantine, which I think is probably needed for block, but that card does kind of suck. When PAL works, it works. Let's go. Keep getting those dubs, boss. You hit good matches, just didn't do that great. 3 Zards, 2 blocks, 2 Tina, and Lug. I mean, yeah, 5 auto wins and 3 kind of sus matchups. Oh, but you don't even need the Great Tusks. That's not sauce anymore. That was sauce briefly. But this beauty does not play Great Tusk. I was kind of excited about the Great Tusk thing because it got leaked to me like early before UIC, so I was like kind of excited to like test it for Orlando. But like Lugia sucked, so it like wasn't worth it. Is there room for the top decks to tech against control? You really can't tech for control. That's the thing. Like Zard can do like subtle things, like maybe like play a Lost Vac or a Temple. But nothing like, it's not like playing the double Turo. Like that hard win stall for you. Or like playing a mini, or you can't really do that. Like you can maybe pick up like little percentage points, but you can't really there's nothing you can do like flips to like control it in your favor. 9 Lugia and cry. This tournament run really, like, I've always I've always should like advocate for just like playing a deck you're super comfortable with, because like these tournaments are massive. Like even if a deck is 22% and you're statistically likely to face it, there's still a very large quantity of decks other than that. So instead of just trying to jump around from deck to deck to find whatever the play happens to be, or the deck that maybe you do find the deck that's the most well positioned and gives you the best matchups into everything, or into the most popular things. Like you could have a run like this where you face the first 6 rounds, you pretty much dodge meta decks. And if you prepared to beat the meta exclusively, you'd be in for a bad time. So like I was able to navigate some of these weirder, less relevant matchups because I know my deck super well and I'm comfortable with it even in awkward situations. I also kind of have the added benefit of like my deck being weird and my opponent's not being super well versed in playing against it. That my opponents definitely made a lot of mistakes against me because they like weren't like I had opponents bench locking out of Erica all the time when like there's no Erica here. You felt so bad game 1 of Orlando because you attacked it with Buffalon, or you played the whole game without knowing Temple wasn't play. Oops. Hey, you're a certified Guardy gamer. Run it back. I mean, Guardy's kind of got you to this point, right? Seems good. But yeah, and I guess what I was trying to get at from this like points of deck building and metagaming is, unless you're like at the point where you feel like you can play just whatever and you're like that good of a player where you don't need a ton of testing, you're just super well versed with everything, that you can pick up a deck on a day's worth of testing and still perform well. Just stick with what you know. Even if your favorite content creator put it in tier 2.5 or tier 2, like if you're at a point with a deck where you can just do things and see things that the average person can't, unless that deck just straight up sucks, just run with it. And don't let anyone tell you differently. Just do it. I think Pidgeot EX getting cheaper and more expensive. That was something I paid attention to, but we can look. Looks like more expensive. Let's see. I mean, it randomly jumped like $10 there. But yeah, it's been going up, I guess. Yeah, I had so many people bench lock around Erica. It was kind of funny. And like, even though control it's kind of like not playing Echoing Horn last format, like sure, they probably don't have it, but like, are you really gonna call my bluff? Like, if it doesn't work, you lose the game. So if you have only like 30% of PG control lists or 50% of PG control lists play Erica, that's basically a 50% chance to lose the game on any given turn if you're not going to bench lock around it. Or like Ultra Ball, Super Rod, or whatever, like. So it's it's a very risky proposition to not play around it. Your opponent on Prime catch up the to 1? Rip. Nah, unfortunately, I did not give Mela a Limitless page. Unfortunately, I got beaten to it. Tragically, Mela might have them one of the weirdest Limitless pages ever. Pidgey control and gouging fire. An interesting duo of decks. Oh yeah, that new flute could be pretty nasty for a stall. So yeah, Rip did not give Mela a limitless page. But yeah, before we get too sidetracked here, I mean it's fine just talking about the deck and thoughts and stuff. It's fine. We can get sidetracked. It's okay. What other weird stuff was there? There was Braden ran back Spathra, same 60 from UIC, almost top 32 again. Broken. No Cyllene pad in this Spathra list, unfortunately. Yo, you can play control with a Daisy. Let's go. Giving bad cards limitless pages is kind of funny. It's hilarious the impact that limitless has on the competitive scene. Because not only does it give people like more information, but like so many people ID at 6'2" to get the limitless, like to get their first limitless page, right? When like if that wasn't a thing, like that wasn't like a flex, like hey, I have my limitless page. It's like not like if you're trying to get points and do well, it's like a bad move to ID in this big tournaments ID your last round. Like you should always play it out. At least that's the smart thing. But everyone, like most people ID the last rounds, even though it's probably not the smartest idea. Probably because of limitless. Or there's people who like I don't remember who it was, but it was like a couple seasons ago, someone like offered to pay someone like pay money if someone got Dan a limitless page, and it happened. I don't know how much it was, but it happened. Well, if you play out at 6-2 and naturally tied, that's a different story. It could happen, Jeff. I'm not sure though. I got home from the airport today. I just laid in bed and listened to that. I almost fell asleep, but I heard it all. Yes, back in the day, there's a website called like Six Prizes, and they had like all the top players that wrote articles and stuff. And yeah, if you wanted their list from tournaments, you had to pay for a membership. That is very true. So it was not the greatest thing. Yeah, that was like pre-limitless, like pre everyone posting their list on Twitter, like you didn't want to leak the sauce like that. Like if you were a good deck builder, you were so significantly advantaged because like you didn't post your list. You could stay super far ahead, or you could charge money. You could profit off being a good deck builder. Oh, they looked their opponent up on limitless. I did have a couple people against me who like I was using my Alloutblitzle playmat, right? And as soon as I roll it out, get it laid out, they're like, "Oh, you're playing control." It's just like, I mean, some people know that anyway, because like I stream the deck all the time. So if they know me, they know I'm probably playing the deck. But yeah, I don't care. That's fine. No, you don't wish Pokemon was still that way. This is so much better. It it made the gap from the truly elite players to like the decent players like so much bigger. Um so like if you're not in like the inner circle with like a testing like a good testing group, or you're not the best deck builder, like Liam just won a regional. Like obviously he's a great player, but he net decked. I made one change to Tord's list and ran with it. Imagine if Tord kept that list to himself. Tord very potentially could have gone back to back. I mean, sure, I guess, but also, would you have a good deck? Because like of course, if the system worked in your favor, you probably would you, if the system didn't work in your favor, would you really want it that way? There's still free wins into, yeah. It's not like just because your list is, I mean, like anyone who knew who I was could very well have known what my list was and exactly what to play around. But people still had to pick up and read Wigglytuff like every single time I put it down. People still were playing around Erica and whatnot. Like, I don't know. I think this system is for the better. It makes the game so much more accessible. It's probably one of the reasons why Pokemon is growing faster than other games, because it's cheap and you can find the best list super easy. I don't know if other card games have that where you can just like instantly copy the list that won a big tournament. I mean, probably. But is there something like Limitless for that? Hey, that was pretty funny on PDCGO when you could just, yeah, see the opponent's lists. And not to get too sidetracked here, there was a Goldengo that almost got top 64. That was similar to the list that, yeah, it's no Cyllene, but just have the Cologne. But I guess like finish the thought of the whole like old era, like pre-information and all that. Like I played in both eras. Like there was, for like EUIC, let's tell a fun little story. For I think it was EUIC 2017. This is like basically the infancy of like Limitless was not very old at the time. Like Arcanine didn't publish all the lists after the tournament. This is basically exclusively off people posting their lists afterwards, which wasn't as and like Pokemon always published the top 8 lists. But like right before this tournament, there was a 60cards.net article about this like broken Gardevoir list that like one of the top players had cooked up, and what was unique about it is it played a ton of max potions. Yes. And it was, the article was stuck behind a paywall and got a lot of people excited because like it kind of made the rounds, like this broken Gardevoir list playing 4 max pots. So a lot of people picked it up and played it. So they're able to profit off of their broken idea, which I guess there's no shame in that, but that was like, yeah. Having to pay money for the best list is kind of cringe. I'm glad we don't have to do that. So I missed what was in our chat here. But you have no control over what you open. Needing to search for something for a matchup isn't gain, but yeah. A lot of Gustavo's wireless aren't there, and it's sad. Yeah, there's like those people who wouldn't post their lists on Twitter, like after the events or whatever, they were just they were just never uncovered. Like if they were streamed, you could like go back and watch the stream over and over again. If they had a really good deck search, you could find it. But like, this was an IC, and like today they'd all be all over Twitter, and Arcanine would publish, but there's a lot missing here. Guardy was pretty broken. I like Gardevoir. Gardevoir GX. I'm not much of a Guardy EX enjoyer. So any other cool stuff, weird stuff, like block, for control. Oh yeah, Umi requested that I roast his list, so I will. We already kind of talked earlier about like why Noivern isn't very good. But I think Noivern could potentially become the play and control again, but it's gonna take time. Um, we're gonna need Future to drop Psychic Energies and Ancient to not play Fire Energies or goofy stuff like that. There's a middle. Yeah, we'll check out the Great Tusk. No, RK9 literally publishes them all. Like if you or all the day 2 lists, I guess yeah, Robin Price, yeah, just like on the player roster, they publish all the day 2 lists. Cause like before it's like basically just off Twitter, right? So yeah, back to the roasts. Where was it? Where was it? Dang it! Now I lost it. I'm so cringe. Why does my head not work? It's been okay. There it is. It's been a long last few days. I mean, if you know my list, Jeff, you could play differently. Like you're not gonna play on Erica. You're gonna know what Wigglytuff does and stuff like that. Like it does give you a slight benefit, but it's like not that major. Can't afford against Zardo now. It's like Buffon good enough? Not really. Radiant Charizard's pretty important in the deck. I think Cleffa board wasn't the play. I didn't use Cleffa a ton, but it was pretty solid, I would say. But also like Spirit Tomb usage is gonna keep trending down. Like if every Zard list is on Cleffa, and like every control list is on Cleffa, what like Tomb is a annoyance. The Artisan and Devo. That's interesting. Like I wonder how good Devo is against C-Pal if they're playing the Cyllene. But I guess like so if they don't bench Bib, it's so hard for them to beat Luxray anyway, so. Yeah, that might be fine. Like I'm not a massive Devo fan in the deck. It feels kind of win more, but it's interesting. But yeah, it's like aside from the fact that like Noivern's not very good, I don't really like hate anything about the list. Like I think the Cheer Cyllene split's optimal. But I guess in like that's like more like the Wigglytuff build where you can more aggressively take prizes. Maybe in a build like this, it's a little more passive, or not quite. Not I guess passive. Not the best way to describe it, but like less aggressive. Cyllene's bad in CPAL. I disagree. It's basically like a boss's orders or fourth candy or like fifth SER. Like it's like not a consistency supporter. I guess is the biggest hindrance. Yeah. Like I'm not the biggest gear enjoyer, but I think it's fine. Like yeah, aside from the Noivern and the fighting energy, like 57 card deck aside, it's fine. Yeah, that usually play Arctibacks, but you do very occasionally see it. Okay. We had the request to look at the mill deck. It was Wigglytuff to Dunsparce with a hand trimmer, with a Devo. That's pretty cool because like maybe you like go first and the Dunsparce gives you like that extra draw power that you're kind of lacking. Because like Wigglytuff's biggest issue is it just like the deck don't work very often, and you can't really miss too many turns of milling if you expect to win the game. So having a little extra draw power just to be more consistent seems kind of good. It does feel sort of weird. Like one of the Dunsparce's like biggest perks, I feel like how amazing it is with Buddy Poffin. And that's not here in this list. Also, there's no Ultra Balls to search the Dunsparce. I don't know how much you really need that. I guess the Dunsparce does like kind of sub in for the Pidgeot V, and also is like kind of infinite as well. Like if you need to just not deck out, you can go like the Dunsparce attach tool card, shuffle it back in. So that's pretty neat. So this probably is the optimal way to play Great Tusk. I think Grafton said on Twitter afterwards that playing more like a Charm is better than Capsule in this deck, so you can charm the Dunsparces so they don't get ninja sniped. But it looks very cool. Maybe we should try this on the channel. And there's a couple other weird decks here near the bottom of day 2. There's even a Miraidon. I haven't actually seen this list. And it's just like it's just Turbo Hands with stickers and EXP share in here as well. I don't know like how you ever justify playing this over Future Hands. Like, how do you rationalize just not playing? Like, what makes you play this build over Future Hands? I don't know. Like, what's the argument in favor of this deck? Raichu to nuke stuff? Not sure. Interesting. Yeah, that's about it. There's Israel Seth's Arcagoo. Nothing too wild here. I mean, I guess seeing Arcagoo make day 2 is pretty neat. Goofy Casino Miraidon? Yeah. There was a Lost Goodra down here as well. Actually playing the Prime over the Cape. I feel like Cape does seem kind of good in Goodra, but maybe not. 117th roast you? No problem. 117th. Oh. Literally right. Broken. Okay, I did not realize that was you. I haven't played Goo this format. It looks fine. Not sure what the Crisis Punch is when you don't have any way to find it really. Like, I mean, I guess you just draw enough cards out of the deck that you just like find it. Capable, yeah. There's so much vacuum format that Prime Goodra probably makes more sense. It's just like you'd think that like a super tanky Goodra would be the move, but yeah, it makes sense. I've always been like a fan of double rocks in Lost Box, so kind of like that. It looks fine. Like I don't have any issues with this list. Looks like if someone wanted a starting point for Lost Goodra, I think going here would be the move. That's true. Like you lack a big late game hitter. And it also does have a surprise factor too, where the opponent is like probably expecting you to like be like late game capped at like 220 from Zamazenta. So yeah, and like with the Mew and the Crisis, you're probably like fine into Tina. I guess they can play it. Well, like really, like game 1, are they really playing around Crisis Punch? Probably not. All right, go to Lost Goodra lists. It's Future Box. This deck just looks gross. Not a Future Box enjoyer. Makani played Arcgigas, Vulpix, Pidgeot Barrel. Very interesting deck, but I'm unsure how good it is. Like Arc Vulpix just feels like it's not quite enough. How does Oscu ever beat Zard? That's fair. Suggested the third boss. Oh, in Makani's list? In this list? How does Arc Vulpix beat Ancient Box? That's the cool part. You don't. I guess you go like the tanky dudes. It has to be Guardy. That's also the coolest thing. You don't. Medical Energy gets a Limitless Mage. yeah, this doesn't even like have the disruption element really to like steal games either. It's just like yeah, I'm not a massive believer in this. Okay, I know there's a lot of Arc Drago fans out here, and I sat next to this round 5, and I was shocked to see it at 301. Arc Drago, Vulpix. There's a Devo in here. It's like Arc Drago's second Limitless entry. I still don't really get the synergy of Drago and Vulpix. Kind of need Koraidon or you lose to Mimikyu, but at that point, are you just scooping the stall? I mean, you lose to control anyway. I go Cape Klawf and you shake my hands. Yeah. I'm not like sure about Vulpix. 'Cause, like, isn't Goodra using Rolling Iron just as good most of the time? And you can play better cards? Like, when would I, like, what match am I winning with Snow Mirage that, like, I'm losing without it? Because, like, C-Pow, I don't think it works either way. Like, against Zard, Rolling Iron's just as, well, not quite as good, but it's still, like, respectable, right? I think like Explorer is pretty good for a Goodra. Like it's that discard support that I always was kind of missing. So it doesn't really like dumping a ton of energies out of hand all the time, but also just like you can keep like the couple good cards but bin the rest. I would kind of like a Rod in here though. I don't know. I guess you can't like find the Rod ever. So I mean it's cool to as an Arc Drago enjoyer, cool to see that make day 2. Another Espathra. There's a Raging Bolt Lost Box. And this deck is the definition of a Lost Pile, the most pile Lost Pile if I've ever seen one. Actually not that bad, because I got double gear, like a lot of Lost Box decks not playing Poke Gear. Or all the like most cringe Lost Piles that you see like online. It actually looks fair, like fairly consistent. Sada as a supporter when you don't have a ton of ancient options feels kind of weird, but hey, I guess that's where the gear course comes in. Yeah, I don't know about this. So there's that. And anything else? There's jank, but I think that's everything. All the decks. I don't have time to look at all of them, and that would get pretty repetitive, I think. But yeah, I guess to sum it up, I guess it didn't really go that. I like the biggest surprise is probably Ancient doing this well. I'd say everything else like isn't like near the top wasn't that unexpected. Like personally, I've been very vocally never a big fan of Future, and I'm not super surprised to see like kind of come back down to earth after it had such an amazing weekend at UIC. But I feel like Control is just even better positioned going forward. Like there's so many factors that make this deck or any other control build or most other control builds I think even better for upcoming tournaments. Um, like Zard's dropping max spell, more ancient box, less Lugia, less future. And I still think Wigglytuff is the way to go as of now. Unless I somehow think of something better, or someone else thinks of something better. All signs point to Wigglytuff for Indy. So yeah, if there's any final questions on the list, on the run, Yeah, and then I'm gonna call it a night because I'm tired. Like playing 15 rounds of Pokemon and all that traveling. I don't really do a lot of travel, so like I hadn't I'd not been on a plane since 2019. So it was a lot of stuff that I'm not ultra used to. Um, but it was a lot of fun. It is definitely a sheesh. I didn't send anything to Pokemon. I mean, it's not that big of a deal. It's just cringe sports. Like, it's just bad sportsmanship. Like, there's nothing, like, no punishment, but it's just like, just don't be that person. Um, yeah. I'm planning on, like, the next video I produce is gonna be the Ultimate Pidgeot Control, Wigglytuff Control guide video. Gonna try to, because I got so many requests about that, so we're just gonna remake the control guide. Because that the first one did so well, I feel like I kind of owe it to y'all. um, yeah. If you didn't catch it, go back and watch the Twitch VOD between round 6 and round 7 when they're like doing non-stream game stuff, when they're like interviewing people and talking. Just watch the chat. I did not order my minions to act that way. It just happened. Um, it was a very special weekend, and like I said in the posts, very grateful. It was so cool because like, I mean, the channel's not, it's like, I guess, big for a Pokemon channel, but it's like not huge. But it was very, very cool to see how, like, I don't know how many times I got stopped and people said hi or talked, and those like interactions just encouraged me to do more of this kind of stuff. Like, that hearing like in person that people get value out of the streams is pretty cool. I don't really know what else to say. Um, I am tired. Like, I'm very tired, but the grind don't stop. Um, yeah, I don't really know what else to say. I'm just very thankful to have such an amazing community with all you epic gamers. Yeah, big shout out to everyone who stopped and said hi. I'm re-emphasizing it. Stop for picture, just talked, was very, very cool. Um, Proud of me. Yeah, thank you, Larry. It was, yeah, pretty special. Um, but yeah, I'm gonna call it a night here. I'm very exhausted. I don't know if you can see it in my eyes, but like, I don't know. I'm a mess. I'm a mess of a human being. Um, like tiny in front of my door. Yeah, y'all thought I was capping when I said I was 6 feet tall. Didn't trust. um, yeah, thought I wasn't telling the truth. Oh man. But yeah, I know the door is just that goaded. But yeah, I'm gonna get out of here. Not gonna waste any more good time rambling nonsense. Um, yeah, I appreciate y'all for hanging out. I know it wasn't the typical stream, but I hope there was still some value to be had here. There was stuff to be learned. If not, hopefully I was cringe and entertaining at the very least. But yeah, I hope y'all have a great night. Don't think I'll be streaming again at least until Wednesday. try to work on this control video. It's gonna take a bit because I want it to be like edited and nice. Yeah, join the Discord if you haven't already for some reason. We had a lot of fun in there over the weekends, and yeah, subscribe too. That'd be cool. And I'll catch y'all again very soon.